welcome. Welcome if you are here for the first time. Welcome back if you are a returning listener. I love you. Thank you so much for showing up today. I have a really exciting episode that I'm really just stoked to dive into. I'm doing something a little different today. I am actually not going to be talking about a specific topic. I am going to be doing like a relationship Q&A, I guess is probably what I'm going to end up calling this episode. So I had, I literally have had my, oh man, I feel like every person that I know is going to hate me because it's not necessarily that I'm going to put them directly on blast, but I've been compiling a list of relationship questions that I have gotten over the years. Um, because I think like some of them honestly are kind of like really hard to answer like on the spot. I feel like I'm kind of like one of those people, you guys, just to give you an idea. I'm literally like I would make the best bartender because I feel that I have this air about me where people just think that I know what's right or they think that I know anything. And so they just come to me asking me questions. And I get all sorts of questions. It's been very weird at times. I've had to really use my boundaries in some cases. So, anyway, today I'm going to dive into these questions, and I have not looked at these questions in a very long time. I am 100% being honest right now. I've not looked at these questions in a while. And so my answers are literally going to be like on the fly. Um, so are you ready? Because we're gonna get into this. Um, but anyway, so starting with the first question. Uh, do you believe in twin flames? Oh man. So, in short, I don't. Okay, so I know, like, I feel the spiritual community telling me that I'm like, you traitor. Here's the thing. I've entertained the idea of twin flames, but honestly, it's kind of hard when you begin to understand that everybody is just a reflection of your vibration. So, um, I, I, I don't know. Like personally, I feel that thinking that a person is like the significant, like, okay, so let me rewind. For those of you that don't know what twin flames are basically this idea. It's like higher than a soulmate. So it's basically this idea that you and this person were one, and then your souls split, and each of you have, I guess, like the essence of the other. And so when you come together, it's supposed to be super magnetic. And then there's like this runner chaser dynamic that's supposed to play out basically until you heal all of your wounds and you do all of your shadow work, or at least you come to a place where you recognize that you're twin flame, that you guys are both twin flames to each other. And then you continue to do your shadow work and your healing with each other. And to me, like, it's so weird because initially, like I was like, okay, I kind of get this idea, right? But at the same token, I think it creates a lot of unhealthy obsession, and I I just feel like that's all relationships. Like I think if we or it can be, it kind of sounds like a really unhealthy dynamic, right? It's like, okay, we come together, it's super magnetic, we trigger the heck out of each other, and then I can't handle it. So then I leave and you chase me. And then, you flip and then you start running and then I chase you. It literally sounds like the most toxic relationship ever. And I have had really intense relationships where there was a lot of triggering, rightfully so, because I had a lot of things that were, left unhealed from my childhood that are still coming up and that I'm still in the process of healing. So for me, like, I'm like, they are not twin flame. If I were to identify them as such, that would be really, really dangerous because I think one of the most common things that I see people kind of get caught in within the twin flame arena is they just become obsessed that this person is their twin flame, and they like every action that they take is, it's almost like it's counterproductive, because the whole point to like coming together with your twin flame is to recognize that you are a whole individual on yourself. But then what's weird is, like, once a person identifies a person as a twin flame, they just become like obsessed with them, and then it kind of eliminates the whole point of the whole dynamic to begin with. So no, I do not believe in twin flames. What do you think about when people say no expectations? Okay, so this is like when I know it's so funny. I remember this instance. So this is when people come into, like, say you meet somebody, whether it's online or wherever, and you decide that you like each other enough to kind of like continue spending time together. But the one person says something like, yeah, sure, like no expectations. Okay. So I've experienced this. Um, and I see it as a red flag. Personally, I see it as a huge red flag. One, because I have to ask, why do you feel it necessary to state no expectations? Is it because somewhere in the past you were in a relationship where that person had such unrealistic expectations that you couldn't, that you felt always defeated, or you felt like a failure, or, you know, there's some reason why you're saying no expectations. And so for one, like it's kind of a red flag for me to get more information. So I usually ask, I'm like, that's an interesting statement. Have you had a person in the past where they've expected too much out of you too soon, or something like that? And I'll kind of go from there. But my other thoughts around it is, it's kind of like, I don't know, like I think it's like trendy to say it. And I think people are they're meaning to sound spiritual, when to me, to tell a person that you're interested in, that you're like wanting to get to know them, but like no expectations, just kind of seems a little like spiritual bypassing. It's like, yeah, but don't have any expectations of me, because, you know, we're not supposed to have, we're spiritual people, we're not supposed to have expectations. And while having no expectations is great in theory, we are human beings. We all have a lot of um, we all have a lot of trauma and things that we're still working on and dealing with. And let's face it, like, I have expectations every day. They may not be huge, but like if I were to leave my house and go downstairs and get in the car, like want to get in my car, I would assume that my car is still sitting there. That is an expectation that I have. And I would expect that it would start. Again, an expectation that I would have. So getting into a relationship or getting to know someone even and saying, yeah, but no expectations, it shows a level of immaturity, and like it's kind of an unrealistic expectation to have no expectations. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. How to handle being ghosted. um oh man, ghosting to me is, it's cowardly. I feel that people, um that I think okay, so it's cowardly, but I also think it depends on the depth of the situation. So if you've been dating somebody for a while and they ghost you, like, that's shit. Like, if somebody that you're dating can't offer you a simple, like, hey, I'm not feeling this anymore, I'm out, then that to me shows a lot about who they are and what they're willing to kind of deal with. It kind of seems like that they, again, just don't have the emotional maturity to let another person down, which kind of says to me that they're insecure, that they're not self-validated, things like that. I personally do not ghost people. I think when I've actively always chosen to come at meeting people with a certain level of integrity and a certain level of consciousness, so that I recognize that I'm not, because I recognize that this person is participating in something, and whether or not I can fulfill their expectations is not, I just need to be mindful of that, right? And they may come into it having certain expectations, and so for me, just to say like, "Hey, it was nice meeting you, but I'm not really seeing us being romantically involved," yada yada yada. So to me, like, again, ghosting is just, it's an easy way out. Um, I mean, that's pretty much just what it is. It's an easy way out where like you don't have to deal with the other person's disappointment or heartbreak or um anything really emotionally having to do with them. And I think that shows that you're not really comfortable dealing with your own. So, okay. On to the next thing. Next question. Have you ventured yet into dating apps? If so, what are your takeaways? This is so funny. Um, I remember being asked this too. So, clearly this was taken. Can you see how, if you're watching me on YouTube right now, you can see how red I am because this is quite embarrassing. Okay, so I believe this episode aired, I think this must have been like one of, God, when was this? Was this the second season? I think it was the second season. I had Andrew Gleason on the show, and we kind of got off topic and we started talking about dating, and he was basically saying that I needed to try the apps, and at the time I was completely against it. So this is, yeah, this is a comment from that episode. But yes, I have ventured into dating, or I have ventured into dating apps. Um, I let's see here. I was I basically, as everybody else does, I feel like you have to take breaks. So I'm trying to remember here. I was on a dating app for, I want to say like 2 to 3 months, started dating somebody from it. So then was off for a couple of months, then got back on for a couple of months. And this was all last year in 2021. And sworn, I swore to myself that I wasn't ever going to get back on them again. And that was in the middle of November of 2021. And we're now in almost March of 2022. And I still feel that way. It's not that I actually had really great experiences from dating apps. Uh, and I think like so much of dating apps is how you go in. And for me, the only reason why I ever joined any of them, and I've done Bumble, Hinge, and Tinder. And yes, I was always looking to date, even though Tinder is a hookup app. You can use any of the apps however you want to. But I just stayed very open to meeting people. I was just here to meet people or there to meet people. And I had just very little expectations. I never saw it to be a waste of my time. Um, Again, I think that this comes with understanding that another person is putting time and effort into getting to know me. So I think it's just having a respect for that. Um, and I also personally felt that what made my experience maybe slightly better than another person's, or than the average, right, is my perspective on it, which again was not to have very high expectations, and that I'm just meeting people and it's cool if we're just friends. Um, but then I think the other thing is if I, if if I happen to match with someone and we had like a day or a day and a half worth of a great conversation, I chose to, I honestly would initiate meeting. And that is because I find that the app is just like the introductory, like it just helps in the introductory process. It is not the place to actually start the relationship. I've said this time and time again. A person is a fantasy until you get them in real life. I see way too many men and women stay communicating with someone just through text for way too long. And then when they meet the person and they see how the person interacts in real life, they realize really quickly, like, this person is not at all who I thought they were. And that is because, when we're just texting back and forth, when that is the only communication and the only accessibility you have to a person, they're literally just showing you what it is that they want you to know about them. And that is not what makes up a person. So, my advice, which is kind of very, I feel like is very abnormal compared to a lot of people, is to meet people in person as soon as possible. Get off the app. Okay, moving on. I felt like that was a really long um, answer. How to deal with insecurity within a relationship. Oh my God. So, this question I get so much, and it actually, as an Aries, maybe this is something. Okay, so I definitely have insecurities. But I think as an Aries, what I find interesting is how many people overthink um, their behavior around their insecurities, or the way that they kind of approach someone. So, I think I get a lot of questions around this, like, should I send this text? Uh, and what's so weird to me is it's like, well, if you thought to send it and it's something authentically that you want to share, then why are you overthinking it? I think a lot of people, when they get involved with someone, whether they're just talking or whether they're dating, whatever process you're at, I think we get way too much in our heads, and we put so much pressure for this person to be like our person, that we tend to just like start to analyze every decision or every action that we take with them as if it's going to be the action that is going to completely like push them away and they're going to disappear out of our lives. And I understand that we're all we've all experienced loss and pain, and that we're all just trying to protect ourselves from that. But the tighter that you hold on to that fear, the tighter that like the more that you, what do I want to say here? The more that you believe that a person holds the key to your happiness, the more you're going to fear this. So I think my number one piece of advice is always to understand, like, hey, you're good on your own, you're whole on your own. Like, another person is just supposed to add value to your already existing amazing life that you have going on. They are not to be the only value that you have in your life, right? So, but going back to the original question, how do you deal with insecurity? You vocalize it, you talk about it, you communicate it, you accept it, you accept it as a part of who you are. You befriend it, you literally cozy up next to it. And when you do accept, your insecurities, I think it makes it a lot easier for you to communicate that to the person that you're, talking with, dating, in a relationship with, whatever. um, I think that we are all insecure, for valid reasons. And I think that the more that we learn to accept that, the more we feel okay articulating that, and the more we open ourselves up to true healing around that. Next question. What's your stance on open relationships? Okay. Oh man. I've said a lot of stuff around this. Not specifically here on the podcast, but just in general. Okay, I just first want to put a disclaimer out there. I have never been in an open relationship. So my opinion around open relationships is going to come from a very limited point of view. Um, I have never really understood the point of having an open relationship. Uh, in from understanding what men and women want from each other, it's rather confusing for me. As a woman, I'm just going to talk about my preferences. Okay. As a woman, to me, in order for me to be in my deepest feminine, like to be truly feminine at my core within a partnership with another, I need to have a container. And that container looks like a relationship. That's what the container looks like, right? Is my person saying, okay, you're safe to completely be open and vulnerable and joyful and receive because I have I have made it so that we are in a partnership. They have contained. If you can see me on YouTube right now, I'm using my hands a lot. They have created a container for that expressiveness, for that vulnerability, for that receptivity to be in. And I have been in situations where I feel that some men have been much better at creating a much more solid and safe container. And I have seen myself completely like become someone like so deeply feminine that I wasn't even aware that I could be that feminine. So with that said, I know that not every woman craves that, right? Um, but for me, like open relationships, it would kind of be like, well, I don't understand because I mean, you can redefine the container, right? Which is what an open relationship is. Um, but I think like I just so want to like freaking shine my heart like so like unhindered, right? I just want to shine my heart so much that I I don't feel that I could do it and feel safe within an open relationship. Sometimes I wonder if people use open relationships as a tool to maybe fix their existing relationship. Sometimes I wonder if there's a part or an aspect of an individual that they don't feel that they can share with their existing partner. And so if I were to coach a couple who is considering um, being in an open relationship, those are some questions that I would ask them. But okay, next question. I feel like I should have like an interview or like, because this is like, I feel weird doing both. How do you get over a breakup? I fucking cry like for weeks. Um, I actually have, you guys are gonna find this so funny. I actually have a designated space in my home that for some reason I always gravitate. Okay, I don't want to say it's designated because it wasn't like it wasn't premeditated. There is a specific area in my home that I always gravitate towards whenever I'm doing a tremendous amount of healing, specifically around relationships. So how do I get over a breakup? So, for me, like there is no linear path to experiencing and mourning loss because that's basically what we're doing when we are getting over a breakup. Um, to me, I I accept what's coming up. I honor what's coming up. I experience what's coming up fully as deeply as I possibly can. Um, there have been times where I have texted my friends and some family members and been like, I am the wailing woman because I am just sitting here bawling my eyes out for days on end. I don't know if any of you have seen Something's Gotta Give, where Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson get in, you know, he basically has a heart attack. trying to have sex with her daughter in her Hampton house. And then they end up having like a little fling, and she gets her heart broken by him. I know, spoiler alert. And ends up literally in her Hampton house, just like she's writing away, like crying. And then she like just breaks out into this wail. And I joke because um, I I really know what that's like. I feel like so much I embody Diane Keaton whenever I experience breakups. But, I think the biggest thing is just to allow space for that, allow space for your healing, be with it, don't run away from it. I think the more that we try to positively think our way out of the depths of our pain, or, even numb it with, going out with friends, drinking, um, maybe having like one night stands, or just maybe even putting our focus and our attention towards getting another relationship, those, um, I don't want to say they're unhealthy, but they are, in the sense that they are just going to postpone your healing. And unfortunately, if you're bringing in or involving another individual, it's going to affect them. So I would just say, immerse yourself in that pain, honor what you had with that person by being in experiencing the loss. Because, if you can really go deep into it, your healing will occur so much quicker. Okay. Next question. Is there a cure for loneliness? Again, reflecting on the person that asked me this. Um, this person is a water sign. Is there a cure for loneliness? I think, again, this goes back to, can you accept your loneliness? Can you befriend your loneliness? Can you understand that loneliness is just a part of life, and that it doesn't um, need a story to be written from it, right? Like, you don't have to sit there and say, I'm lonely, and then start to feel bad over the fact that you don't have anybody in your life, which is what so many of us do. We're always like, whenever I encounter loneliness, I know that then like all these stories come out, like, oh, nobody's ever going to love me. I'm going to be alone forever. Like, and I think that that's the biggest thing, is just understanding, no, I'm just lonely. Like, hold up Kim's brain, hold up Kim's ego. Like, this is just the present moment. I'm just now experiencing some loneliness. I'm just going to befriend it, and we're just going to be here. And that's it. Again, I think that sometimes having language to feelings can also be a bad thing, because then it kind of just, it's like, oh, now I have, like, I guess it's like bad in the sense that, like, now the ego has something to identify itself as. It's like, so it just like grabs hold of it, instead of just be like, I'm feeling kind of sad because, like, I don't have somebody around right now. And that's okay. It's 100% valid. Um, the other cure, if there was one that I would say for loneliness, is just really fucking loving yourself. Like, and what I mean by that is, do you love the person that you are? Do you love the interests that you have? Do you love the hobbies? Do you love your home? Do you love your career or the work that you do in the world? Do you love yourself, and do you love your life? Because if you do, I feel that loneliness is just easier to accept, because you're just like, it's okay. Like, you know, my life is awesome, type of thing. Um, but yeah, if there was a cure, or if there was any cures, I would say that those would be that. Okay, next question. Do you think it's necessary to play games in order to secure a relationship, or to get to know someone with the hopes of it turning into a relationship? Um, no. I would strongly advise against it. Number one, you're cheating yourself. And I mean, really, you're cheating yourself. And yes, by default, you're cheating the other person, but you're cheating yourself. So think about that. One of the biggest questions, or one of the biggest questions that I pose to my clients, um, often when they ask me questions like this is that the type of relationship that you want to have with yourself? And is that the type of relationship that you want to have with another person? When you are playing games in order to secure any type of outcome, and what I'm assuming what this person means by playing games is, you know, playing like doing tests, running tests on the other person, seeing who texts first, um, maybe being a little withholding, um, just gauging everything, trying to strategize, getting to know someone, um, which, you know, uh, is just not a good idea. You're going into something inauthentically. And unfortunately, the outcome that you or the outcome that you create is going to be inauthentic as well. You might secure a relationship, but it's going to be based on lies, or it's going to be based on you having a certain amount of insecurity and them being completely unaware of it until they get in a relationship with you. So, I think when we're playing games, again, it I think if you are noticing that this is coming up for you, I think if you are feeling the need to overanalyze the process of getting to know somebody or strategize your availability, I think if you're doing that, it's because, again, your perspective um, is off. You're not understanding that that person is not there for you to secure or possess or control or manipulate. That person is just there to, like, to come together with you and create more value within the relationship as well as like the world. So, I think if you're coming from that mentality, you might just be coming from a place of thinking that like a person can fulfill you, or a person is the root to your happiness or something like that. So I would say in that case that perhaps you should put the focus back on yourself. Okay, next question. What do you think of the idea of being with someone who loves you more than you love them? Okay, this I was asked years ago, and I think this stemmed from a Sex and the City episode where Carrie, or I can't remember, one of them basically said the trick is that you have to be with someone who's more in love with you than you're in love with them. I think this is a horrible idea. And while I loved Sex in the City at the time, I really can't stand it when, pop culture or whatever puts these ideas in people's heads. I do not think that this is great at all. I think, again, this comes from a place of insecurity. If a person feels that they need to be with someone who is more in love with them than they are in love with the other person, then they're just going into a relationship with fear and insecurity. Because the only reason why you would secure a relationship like that is because you would be afraid to lose it. And the only way that you would think that you wouldn't lose it is if they loved you more than you loved them. So, okay, moving on. Is there such thing as too much sex in a relationship? uh, oh, I'm sorry. I just got like really red. I am an Aries, and so you can ask me this. I'm going to say no. But I think it depends on where your comfortability is. Um, I think that we all experience hormonal shifts. Well, except for men, they don't really experience that much hormonal shifts. But we all experience hormonal shifts, and times in which we tend to be more sexual, and times in which we tend to be less sexual. So I think it just depends on you and your preference and what feels good to you. Now, with that said, I will say that to me, it's not so much it's not so much, the focus shouldn't be around whether there's too much sex. To me, it should be like, what does it feel like? Do you feel connected? Do you feel used? Do you feel like, it's happening maybe maybe because of like an unhealthy pattern, or like, is your partner is your partner engaging in sex with you whenever you have something that you want to talk to them about? So to me, it's just like, well, it's not so much too much sex, it's how is the sex being used? Okay, what is the reason for the sex? Next question. What do you think is the number one quality a woman should look for in a man or any partner? Okay. So this is so personal, but knowing what I know about feminine energy, and when I say feminine energy, we know that, I mean, in the previous season, I talked about masculine and feminine energy. We know that every single, regardless of gender, every single person has feminine and masculine energy. So when I say feminine, you could be a male and feel like you are more in your feminine. But knowing what I know about feminine energy, it craves that, what I was talking about before. It craves safety. And to me, the quality that I associate with that is presence. If a man can really be present with me, then he is more likely to attune to me, and be able to, and I just feel safer. But again, this is very personal. What makes me feel safe and like I have a container to be vulnerable and to be expressive and to receive him is very different from what another person may feel. Safety looks like many different things. But it's so funny. So I want to answer this question for the men though too. I think, okay, so for the men it would be, what do you think the number one quality a man should look for in a woman or another partner? Um, I think if you are a man or any other gender who finds themselves residing in your masculine energy the majority of the time, to me, you would want a partner that makes you feel liberated. So that would maybe be somebody who is accepting, open, and receiving. So basically, this is where I say, the highest masculine energy is the desire to be free. The highest feminine energy is the desire to be seen. And within that, it's within a container. So yeah, that's what I would say on that. Next question. Techniques to improve your sex life and connection. Okay, sorry. I feel like I could probably dedicate an entire episode to this, but techniques per se, I'm not going to talk about that here. I will say, to me, again, it's being purposeful with your sex life. It's recognizing, like, why am I having sex? What am I wanting to bring? And get real. Like, what is it that you are expecting in return? Because as much as we don't want relationships and sex to be transactional, to me, there is this level of, okay, but in order for you that, or in order for us to ascend and to have them not be transactional, we have to recognize the ways in which we do make them transactional. So I would I would say communication, obviously, which is like such a boring answer right now. But communication is really key. I also would say that you could look into what your erotic blueprints are. I don't know if you've ever heard of somatic sexology, but everybody basically has their own erotic blueprint. So you could look into that. Um, I would also say like practicing Tantra is also a great way to feel more connected and to naturally improve your sex life because of it. Tantra is not necessarily what everybody believes in the Western world. Well, it's not at all what we believe in the Western world for it to be. Tantra is really just a way of incorporating breath and movement and sound within your sex life. So, yeah, I think that that would probably help because I think a lot of the reasons why sex lives become stagnant to begin with is because maybe you haven't felt that you can completely be yourself or that you can get what you want. So I think like communicate what it is that you are bringing, communicate what it is that you are desiring, and then also maybe look into your erotic blueprint and consider Tantra. Okay, moving on. Best advice when it comes to resolving conflict. Okay. I'm just going to tell you what serves me. Because I feel like this could be a very long answer. So, my best advice when it comes to resolving conflict is to try to be as present as possible. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay like there in the room as the conflict is unfolding. Okay, I want to go back. Please do not abandon your partner. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is sometimes we can't be present enough when there is conflict. I would say the majority of us cannot, because if there is a conflict, then you are being triggered. And if you are being triggered, then most likely you're not present. So I would first try to become present and then take what it is that you need to become more present. So, what would this look like? So, say you're, home, if you're a woman, say that, or you're just, I don't know, just say you're home and you are trying to put together a meal so that your partner, when they walk in the door, I know that this is very like gender role-ish, but I work from home. So therefore, I make dinner. And when my partner walks in the door, however, say that you're trying to make dinner and you text your partner saying, hey, like, let me know when you're leaving the office or whatever, so that I can prep dinner accordingly. And you've told them this several times, and every time, like, they just forget or whatever. It's just something that they can't seem to do. And so then they walk in the door and dinner is not ready. And for whatever reason, like they're totally normal every other day that doesn't happen. But for some reason, who knows what they're bringing home. This day in particular, it bothers them. They ask, well, why isn't dinner ready? Da 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 da. And I know that this is very like 50s, but I'm just go with it. So the quickest way to me to resolve that would be to bring presence and kind of see what it is and then ask myself, what do I need to become even more present? And if that means me going in another room and just like sitting with myself and experiencing my emotions, then that is what that means. If that means taking a time out and saying, okay, like having like kind of like a rule in place with your partner where it's like, okay, whenever you get into a conflict, if you can take like 2 minutes, a 2 minute timeout where nobody says anything, and you guys can just dedicate that time to kind of going inside yourselves and kind of feeling what's happening. To me, that's like probably my best advice. Um, because oftentimes, like, I know a lot of people would say, well, it's just to get to a place where you can communicate effectively. But the truth of the matter is nobody can communicate effectively when they're triggered. Most of us can. Some of us can, but most of us cannot. And sometimes like the conflict doesn't even need to be happening. You know, your partner that came home from work may just be like carrying crap over from his day, and maybe he just needs the 2 minutes to realize that, and then the conflict, like, you know, the energy just falls right out of the conflict. So that would be my best advice for that. And lastly, oh my God, what are your thoughts on guys who are very active on social media? Okay, so I wouldn't think anything of it if they are running a business that requires them. I don't even want to say requires them to have social media, because I don't have social media, and I don't believe that we should follow the mentality that you have to have social media in order for you to succeed. So I would say like it just depends. Like if part of their business, like they want to run it on social, then I wouldn't think too much of it. But this question, I believe, is just for men in general who are very active on social. I I guess like I would have to understand their reasons for being super active on social. It's not that I generally, okay. I'll admit something. Like if I meet somebody and they are super active on social media, meaning they are posting a lot, they are engaging a lot, and they are on their phone a lot, like with me, it's kind of like a hard pass. Now, some of this may have to do with me being 41, and me valuing presence above all else. But I kind of, I kind of just, you know, I think I would ask like, why? Why is he really active on social media? And honestly, I don't even think that this question should be tailored to just men. I think that this should be tailored to women too. I think anybody who is extremely active on social media, and I know you guys, I was really active on social media. And I did not have, you know, again, like my reasons I felt were very well intended. It's not like I was sitting there flirting excessively or liking hot men's photos. I mean, the people that I followed, it was mostly it was mostly spiritual and like life coaching anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think I don't really know. I generally don't have an opinion about this. I think it more or less is like, well, what is your guy doing on social that you're having to ask this question to begin with? I think that's the bigger question. Now I will express, if your guy is on social media and he follows a lot of um, influencers or attractive women or men, um, and like he's liking and he's engaging, you know, if there's any of this like kind of what I consider unhealthy activity in terms of like in the fact or in the way that it's like dishonoring or disrespecting your relationship, then you need to have a talk with him about that. Plain and simple. Um yeah. Okay. Oh my God. I can't believe I got through all those. I feel like this episode has been way too long and I am losing energy. And you guys can probably tell I'm also losing my voice a little bit here too. So I'm going to leave that there. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer, send them my way. You can actually go to kimberlydam.com/speaking. And on that page, I'm going to create a contact form where you can include your questions there. I think that's the easiest way. In addition, I will be hosting a workshop coming up March 20th. It is called Lab Play at Work, and it is mainly for other creative professionals to kind of re-tap into their imagination and playful self. So if you're interested in that, feel free to look that up also on my website. And I think that that's it. So I will leave this there. I love you guys, and I hope you stay well and stay connected.